We're streaming live through Unity Networks with Paw Radio and the chat room too. And really appreciate you taking time from your busy day to talk with us. And it's a pleasure and honor to be able to talk to you. And I'm looking forward to that. So.
Oh, thank you for having me on.
Well, I think that your story really is pretty much amazing, and that's why I kind of ask you to do a two-part thing, because I know that we won't have time to like really do everything in one thing, but it gives people something to look forward to also too. But really, I think that you're an inspiration in many, many ways, and that's why I kind of said, oh, we're going to be focused on talking about inspiration and hope. But yeah. So I kind of talked a little bit as I opened the show to let people know, obviously, that you were coming online. You have a YouTube channel that you do stuff on, and you certainly talk very openly and frankly on your YouTube shows, including using the F word a lot, and I really appreciate that, actually. I know that you're opinionated, I know that you're very brazen, and you're telling it like it is, but you're actually
real, for sure.
But you're helping people, and that's really amazing to me.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I was hoping maybe we could kind of start like at the beginning. I mean, you know, you don't have to say, oh, I was born here or whatever. But when you, obviously you have some medical problems that sparked your journey. And if you could kind of tell us a little bit about that to get us started. I'll keep us in line as we go. How's that?
Well, I have dealt with epilepsy my entire life. It's something that I was born with, epilepsy and some brain damage. Lots of other health issues from a child, but it wasn't until 2010 that I was diagnosed with lupus, which is an autoimmune disease. And that definitely really kind of was a game changer for me in the quality of my life. A lot of my health issues, epilepsy and all that other stuff, affected my life, but not to the point where it stopped me from living my life. Whereas once I got lupus, that really affected, you know, how much living I was able to get out of life. So until that point, I had really never been, or I never felt like a chronically ill person, or never felt like someone who, you know, whose medical issues were affecting how much life I was able to live. And definitely lupus changed that for me. So I got to find out a lot more about kind of what happens, you know, with autoimmune diseases in the medical establishment and how it's treated and viewed. And it definitely was quite an experience. But thankfully, after using Western medicine for a couple of years, trying to treat lupus and also Sjogren's syndrome, I wound up with pulmonary fibrosis from some of the medications that they were giving me for the lupus. And pulmonary fibrosis is a terminal illness that most people only live 3 to 7 years with. So when I got that diagnosis, it hit me pretty hard. You know, I put so much faith and trust into the doctors and science and, you know, all that stuff, and all I'd gotten back was a terminal illness.
So it kind of sounds like, well, obviously you had epilepsy and some other things, but you were doing sort of fine, and that was being kind of handled. And then all of a sudden you have lupus. So and I know that you've done a lot of research just for your own self, because really, and I try to encourage that all the time on the radio show to people to research things for themselves. Can you tell us just a little bit about what lupus is and how they got you started in, you know, on medicines, and how that kind of progressed to the medicines that gave you the pulmonary fibrosis?
Sure, absolutely. Well, lupus is an autoimmune disorder or disease, and what happens with it is basically the body will see healthy organs and cells as being damaged and sick and as invaders, and it starts attacking healthy cells within the body. So basically, your body is kind of turning against itself and attacking itself. So it affects all kinds of things: your skin, joints, I mean, it really can affect any organ and any system within the body. Usually, the first method of treatment is to be put on steroids. And
I think that when they put you on steroids, that blows out your adrenal glands too.
Well, yeah, I mean, that completely knocks out your immune system, and then you're susceptible to everything out there because there's nothing in you to protect you from any kind of germs or illnesses and stuff. So usually once they get put on like steroids and stuff, there may be some improvements in the lupus symptoms, but usually other issues start, coming up. So eventually they put me on after I guess about a year of being on prednisone and steroids, they put me on methotrexate, which is actually a chemotherapy drug. And I was on that for a year, and that's injections. So I was taking an injection once a week for a year. And the methotrexate actually, I believe, is what caused the pulmonary fibrosis. After I researched it quite a bit, it is something that, can happen from taking methotrexate.
Right, it's kind of like, I've seen this before where it's like the doctor keeps making you sicker and sicker, really, essentially.
It's unfortunate, but it happens,
all the time.
Way too often.
And I know that, we could get into the politics of things, in which we will, because, the pharmaceutical industry and all that, but really there are a lot of people who have lupus, and they get treated in different ways. I know one of something that I'm not sure if this is true for your case, but like sometimes whatever they put you on, you can't even really be out in the sunshine.
Oh yeah, well even having lupus in general, you shouldn't be out in the sun because you're more hypersensitive to it, but definitely some of the medications that they put you on for it make that even worse, to where, you are definitely sun sensitive and can get severely burned.
Yeah, and so, they're obviously in different states, and probably different doctors have different, courses of treatment for things, but like you're saying, it kind of just goes to, here they put you on this, okay, well, let's try something else, so let's do this, and then pretty soon, you've got all these other things going on, and then you get pulmonary fibrosis, and that is...
Exactly. And when I got the diagnosis of pulmonary fibrosis, like I said, it really was, I hit a brick wall, physically and mentally. Just, I knew that I had to do something different than what I had done before, because what I had done, it just wasn't working. It was only making things worse. So I started doing a ton of research, talking to friends, found out about something called the Rick Simpson oil, which is an oil extracted from the cannabis plant, and realized I need to, at the time I was living in Oklahoma, in the state of Oklahoma, which is not a legal cannabis state. So I knew at that time I need to get to a legal state so I can try this Rick Simpson oil and see if it can help me,
Mm-hmm.
So I packed up my belongings and I headed to California. And luckily, as I was going in to get my medical cannabis card in the state of California, I don't know if it was fate, chance, I don't know what it was, but I ran into the man who actually wound up making the oil that cured my pulmonary fibrosis.
Wow.
So now I no longer have scar tissue on my lungs at all.
And how long have you been doing that's cannabis oil, which is called CBD, is that correct?
Well, actually, the cannabis oil that I take, it is high in CBD, but it does have the other cannabinoids in it as well. It isn't just only CBD. It is CBD, but it also has THC, CBN, all the other cannabinoids are present in the oil. But its focus is on the CBD. It's higher in CBD than any of the others.
Well, and obviously it's medicinal, and they do know that it cures a lot of different things.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It has a lot of healing properties.
Oh, yeah. So after you started taking that, obviously you were still on prescription medication for a while, or kind of tell us about that.
Actually, once I got to California, I started weaning myself off of all the prescription medications, off of the medications for lupus, off the medications even for epilepsy. When I moved to California, I was on 14 medications.
Wow.
So I spent a month weaning myself off of those and starting in on the cannabis oil, right away. But within 6 months of taking the cannabis oil, I was scar tissue free.
Which means you.
I was taking a gram a day, every single day, a gram taken orally. Like a capsule, like a multivitamin.
And so when you say scar free, you're talking about the pulmonary fibrosis.
Right. Yep, the scar tissue that was in my lungs.
And then what did the doctors say when they saw that?
They didn't know what to say. They didn't really know what to say at all because, they're just, the one doctor in San Diego was dumbfounded, and she asked me a bunch of questions about the cannabis oil that I took, and, but yeah, kind of dumbfounded. Didn't know what to say, really.
Well, it'd be hopeful that maybe people would open their eyes to see that obviously there are alternatives, to treating diseases and, those type of things, and look at that. Of course, again, we could talk politics about the pharmaceutical companies because they make money off of the pills, and probably, a pill that costs them 20 cents to make costs a poor person to get, $100 or something. I mean, there really is stuff that needs to be changed in there. But I think that your story really shows that there's hope for people.
Oh, definitely. Well, even for people that maybe, things like cannabis oil or things like that maybe might not be, the right path for somebody. Definitely, I would say that just check into other natural alternatives because, there are healing properties to turmeric. There are healing properties to so many things that are naturally from this planet.
Oh, coconut oil, lemon juice.
All you have to do is research. Just get online and start looking stuff up because you will find a wealth of knowledge.
Oh, yeah. See, and that's the important thing is researching things and not just, taking someone's word for it. And, I'm sure that doctors are well-meaning in most cases.
Oh, yeah.
But they're trained nowadays really to keep, as a business so that they keep a customer. If they healed you, you'd go away and they wouldn't be making money. So it's not really their fault, but really all of our systems need to be overhauled that way. But really quite incredible that you took the initiative. A lot of people think, well, maybe I'm going to try to do something different, but they never really do it. What inspired you really to go, okay, I got to look at something else here?
It was getting a terminal illness. It was getting pulmonary fibrosis because up until that point, I was a compliant patient. I did exactly what the doctors told me to do. I did exactly what they asked of me. I took the medication. I was completely compliant up until that point. And it's when, they finally, their decisions, finally put me in a position to where it's like, okay, well, now I'm in a situation where I'm going to die. So I got to follow a different path, and I'm so thankful that I did that because, I may not be talking to you right now if I didn't.
Oh, absolutely, but a lot of times people get that diagnosis and, hey, well, you got this and you're going to die, and they just give up.
I've never been a quitter like that. I've never been one to give up. I love living too much.
Yeah.
There's too many wonderful things, amazing things on this planet to enjoy, explore. I want to live as long as I possibly can.
Well, see, and that really is a lot about what I talk about here is, it's really about your attitude and what you think. And, so you didn't just go, oh, my God, I'm going to die in 3 years and lay down and wait. You took initiative and did something about it. So.
You definitely have to be your own advocate. Really, because who else is going to be,
Exactly.
Who else is going to fight for you if you're not willing to fight for yourself? You've got to fight for yourself. Muster it up and fight.
I'm sure that made you have to really kind of look deep inside yourself, too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because I left everybody behind. My family, my friends in Oklahoma when I moved. I got the diagnosis, and within 30 days of that diagnosis, I was living in California. I took no time at all to get on the ball of changing things. I knew it was something that needed to be done quickly, and that's how I did it.
Well, again, like I'm saying, really, most people just go, oh my God, and they just stop. And quite frankly,
Well, I would want to have a conversation with those people.
Well, and I think you kind of, and that's why I have you here with us today on Resource Network Radio, simply because I do feel like that is very inspirational. No matter what a person, is going through, it could be something emotional, it could be, financial or whatever. You can change your life if you think you can.
Absolutely.
And that's why I think
mindset plays such a huge factor into all of that.
Yeah.
Because where your mind is set is the direction you're going to head.
Mm-hmm. So after you found out, that you have this, and you go, oh my God, I got to do something. You headed to California. You went to like a medical clinic there that does alternative medicine, or how did you really kind of start the process of things?
Well, as soon as I got into California, I went ahead and got my California driver's license, and then went to go get my medical cannabis card so I could utilize the dispensaries to be able to get laboratory tested medication, And I happened to meet the guy who wound up was making cannabis oil out of his home and trying to establish a business for himself through it, and it just was chance or fate. I don't really know what it was.
Or a miracle.
But I'm thankful that it happened.
A miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a miracle happening, because when you take those steps to do what you need to do for you because you've looked deep inside yourself, then things start falling into place.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and I did know that once I got into the state of California and everything started happening so quickly, I knew that I had made the right decision and that it was what was meant to happen, because everything, there were no glitches. Everything just smoothly transitioned right the way it should have,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I had a path cut out for me, and I just walked that path.
Well, and see, I think that's inspirational. I think that provides hope for people, because that is really what you have to do. Sometimes when you're faced with, an obstacle, or, life forces you to basically change things, and then when you do, it kind of opens up for you once you make a decision about what you need to do. Yeah. So obviously, you don't have pulmonary fibrosis anymore. Is that correct?
That's correct. I no longer have pulmonary fibrosis. As far as I know, I think I'm the only person on the planet that can say that I had it at one time and now I don't, and I'm still alive to say it.
And so, as far as like lupus and your epilepsy, how is that going now?
I still have epilepsy. I will have epilepsy for the rest of my life. And lupus, again, I probably will have that for the rest of my life. But thanks to the daily ingestion of cannabis oil, taken like as if anyone would take a multivitamin, I'm able to keep my lupus under control to the point where I don't have to be on steroids or any of the other Western medicine treatments. And the same for the epilepsy. I'm no longer having to take the anticonvulsants, which that alone has improved the quality of my life so much, because I had no clue how suppressed my brain was due to those anticonvulsants that I was taking.
Oh, but yeah, I imagine it
now
must
that I'm
really...
not on them, I really, it's like before I was living in a cloud.
Yeah, it must really affect your system a lot, and that.
Oh, it definitely affects not only your system, but just, how you process thought. It kind of, in a way, for myself anyway, my own personal experience, the anticonvulsants that I was on had me almost in a semi-sedated state, like mentally sedated, And I don't want to live like that. I want to be able to feel everything and see and live and learn, and, I definitely can't do that when I was living a life of, Western medicine and prescriptions for the epilepsy.
And so the cannabis oil helps control you having seizures. Do you still have seizures, or?
I do. Right now I am on about half a gram of cannabis oil a day. I'm having digestive issues the last year, so I'm trying to get my GI issues worked out. So until I get those situated, I'm slowly increasing the oil. Um, my therapeutic dose is at 1 gram a day, so I'm half of my therapeutic dose right now. So I am having, some lupus symptoms and some epilepsy symptoms, but I know that once I get back up to that gram, those will be fine.
Yeah. Well, it is always, obviously, checking what's happening and, being kind of in touch with yourself and figuring out what's the best thing to do. And, everything's always constantly changing every day with us anyway. So,
oh, absolutely.
But, yeah. So you're probably always kind of researching things, or?
I try to stay up on research. I do have a wonderful support system of loved ones and friends who also help out, and when they hear or come across information that they think might be useful to me, they let me know about it, so I can look it up and research it myself as well. Having a support system is, really, it's vital.
Oh, yeah. It's
to be successful.
Yeah, it's just vital anyway in our day and time to have a good support system, and especially when you have any kind of issues too, people that have, have something similar or something that you can relate to and that you can, support one another. That's really, really important. Yeah. And as I know that you, at somewhere along the line, you started on YouTube, a little channel, and now you've got like way over 2,000 followers. And you talk about, lupus, you talk about cannabis oil, about your situation, and really you're an inspiration to other people, and I think that you bring a lot of hope to people. What made you decide that you wanted to do that?
Well, actually, I started doing YouTube in 2005, so I've been on YouTube for a really long time. Initially, I just got on YouTube as something to just do as for fun, to record videos, silly videos and such. But then later on, back in 2010, when I got diagnosed with lupus, I decided that I needed to make a channel that was devoted specifically to dealing with lupus. And because I thought it might be a good way to have a timeline for myself to see the progression of my health, or the decline, whatever the case was going to be at the time. So that's why I started my channel called Lupus Life, because at the time when I got lupus, it really did kind of take over my entire life, and my life just became about treating lupus.
I think too, from what I know a little bit about lupus, is that sometimes people have that and they don't know they have it, and then they'll get diagnosed that, or they misdiagnose other things when it might be lupus. And I just kind of want to jump back into that because I know that there really are a lot of people who have that. And yeah. And if you could tell us just a little bit more about, how did you find out that you had lupus?
Well, initially, I wound up having a rash, a skin rash, and I thought that maybe it was just like a heat rash or too much sun exposure possibly or something. It started on my chest is where I first noticed it, and then I started getting boils on the bottoms of my feet and my hands. All the skin started sloughing off. I felt like I'd become a leper. So of course that had me going to the doctors.
Oh yeah.
They did all the blood tests and blood work, and then that's how I found out that it was lupus. It's from all the blood work. But what initially had me, realizing that there was something going on was my skin was freaking out and reacting.
Did you take? I'm just butting in here. Did you take acetaminophen at all?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, just wondering, because that's a symptom of a lot of people that take acetaminophen have that symptom of where your hands do that and the bottom of your feet, and it causes skin rashes and things. So it's another example of of course that's over the counter, but it's still pharmaceutical stuff that causes problems.
I don't think I've ever been on that. But yeah, the lupus, when it attacked me, with my big flare, it really. Actually, my very first video on my Lupus Life channel on YouTube shows pictures of that flare. I didn't take pictures of my face back then because it was affecting my face as well, and I I didn't want to put anybody through seeing anything too disgusting or, gory. So I just kept
Well, and that had to have been really horrifying for you to have all of a sudden that going on.
I don't really focus too much on my appearance as far as, I don't know. So
well, you're a rare person in the world anyway, obviously.
I was still going out to restaurants. I was still going and doing activities and stuff. I mean, I wasn't letting the fact that I was having, this thing happen, I wasn't letting it stop me from doing stuff and living.
Yeah, that's good. See, and again, it's about your an attitude. Because a lot of people just give up. Or they'll hide, or they, I mean, obviously there's, those 5 steps of grief or whatever. One of them is denial. And that's a big one that people do too. And so they deny in their mind about what's really going on. But obviously you really took a look at it and thought, I'm not going to let this stop me.
Well, like I said, I've dealt with a lot of hardships in my life, both with physical stuff and also with mental health issue stuff. And it really has kind of given me the drive to enjoy as much life as I can,
Well, if more
so
people
no matter
did that,
what I'm going through, I really try to do my best to make the most out of it and turn whatever I'm going through into as good a positive experience as I can have it be.
yeah. See, if more people did that, then the world would be a better place. And then,
I agree.
Yeah, and you're willing to share about yourself, and that takes that's a big thing too, to put yourself out there like that.
Well, I enjoy the interaction, and I have made lifelong friends from sharing and being on YouTube. I mean, it's quite a strong community there.
And one of the things I see that you do on YouTube is question and answer. It's like you do that. I think you do it every single day.
Because I have for the last 3 years.
Yeah, and I mean, and there are people. I mean, it's really basically. It appears like you must have found a book or something, and you got.
It's just a book I found on Amazon that I ordered, and I was like, oh, this would make for a fun little video series. So yeah.
But there's a lot of people that it touches.
For me to know my subscribers as well.
Yeah, and it touches a lot of people. And that's the thing I think that's important nowadays too, is that connection of making connections with others, and so that we all do feel connected, and like you were saying, having that support system.
Well, yeah, the more you interact with other people, the more you find out what commonalities you have with them. And, then you don't feel so alone in things, because it's like, oh, wait, you went through something like that too? Well, it's good to know I'm not alone. It's good to know other people have been through it, and, it really helps connect. Sharing with other people definitely helps, I feel like, bring more humanity to each one of us.
Oh yeah, and you're bringing hope, and we
exactly.
Yeah, and we need a little more humanity in our world too.
We definitely need more humanity in our world.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, hope is really important too. And one of the things, obviously, I try to focus on the positive and stuff too. And like I was talking about introspection, this week really is kind of the new year and introspection, and it's kind of the lost art of looking deep within yourself. And is that something that you do every day, or do you do that, or what do you think about introspection?
I am constantly doing that. Maybe too much. But I when you are living your life and doing your day-to-day stuff, you are only getting the perspective of what you're putting out there. What people are perceiving of that, you're not really getting that until you get feedback from other people about that. So, yeah, I'm constantly, examining myself and my actions and, just to keep myself kind of on track.
Well, I think that you're also humble, too, because really, quite frankly, I think what you're doing on YouTube touches a lot of people's lives, and it does bring a lot of hope to people. And like you say, it gives people a place to connect, to feel like they have a community, and to feel like they're not alone. So, I mean, that is a wonderful thing to be doing in our world today. And if more people did that with whatever, their situations are, or just because, you're reaching out to a neighbor or whatever, it does make our world a better place. So I really give you a lot of credit for doing that, and really appreciate you being in our world and making a difference like that.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really brave of you, number one, because not a lot of people would step up and stand up, which is something we need more of today, too. And, sharing your story, I mean, it's amazing what you're doing. And, just the things that you've had to go through to get to where you are. And you're not giving up still. You're gonna live no matter what.
That's right.
Yeah, and live life to its fullest, and that's really the important thing.
Right.
Yeah. So, if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about, I mean, obviously, if people listening, if they wanted to find you to tap in, because maybe they have lupus, or maybe they have something, somebody they know that has it, or pulmonary fibrosis, or people interested in cannabis oil and alternative medicine, where can they find you?
They can just, on YouTube, in the little search bar on YouTube, just type in Angie on YouTube, and you'll find me. I've got lots of content, so you'll definitely come across me if you just type in Angie on YouTube.
You do have lots of content, and I think it's interesting. I mean, you're like, well, you have one where you talk and you sing.
Yeah, I have a lot of content. I have a lot of interest in hobbies, and I definitely am not shy about any of them.
No, that's what I'm saying. You're pretty brazen, you're pretty opinionated, and that's good. Because people need to stand up and say what they believe. I think that's really important, and I think there's a lot there that people can check out and relate to, and really learn from. And it sounds like you're always trying to learn more too. So.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, my channel specifically, I mean, as you stated earlier, I do use adult language. So my channel is not really one for young kids or adolescents. It's more geared towards adult listeners. But I would say definitely there's so many wonderful YouTubers out there posting content. They are family friendly, even like the neighbors on YouTube. Their content is all family friendly. You can listen to any of their videos in front of small children and not worry about the F-bomb being dropped or anything,
Yeah.
It's a great place to be able to not only connect with others, but also acquire information.
Oh, yeah, and I think that's important. Like, even when I'm talking, on something, whatever it is I'm doing here, I just make sure people know, it's my opinion, but anything that you see or you hear, say on social media or in the news, it's important to go and research those things for yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you obviously use the internet a lot to check things out. You're on YouTube. Are you on Instagram too?
I am. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, kind of the main social media sites I do participate on.
And on Facebook, what's your link on Facebook, if you didn't mind sharing that?
It's Angie Lupus Life.
Okay. Because a lot of people, are interested in, obviously, I think everybody knows somebody's affected by something nowadays.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, so, and like I said, there's a lot of people that do have lupus. There's a lot of people who have, other issues that obviously cannabis can help heal. And I think that's important, obviously, that there's a way that people can, tap into that and find, information. And obviously you're trying to make sure information is out too. And what else do you do as far as like research for yourself?
Well, mostly it's just researching online and then trial and error at home. Being my own guinea pig, so to speak. But I've definitely found that food and nutrition plays such a huge part in health status. So that's something I've really been trying to put my focus towards with my research is, what foods have the most healing properties and which ones, cause the most issues, so I can know which ones to focus on, which ones to avoid.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, obviously that's individualized to each person.
Exactly.
But I mean, just being able to share some of the things that you do, like maybe somebody doesn't have lupus, but they might have something similar, or they have something else, and it might just invoke something in them to go, well, you know what? If this person is doing this, maybe I should check into that too and see what I can do for me. Mhm.
Well, and online there is multiple websites that are just specifically about, forming those support systems. I mean, you can go on YouTube and type in any illness that you can think of on this planet, and you will find someone who has that illness who's probably sharing about their experiences about it.
Yeah,
so
that's
definitely, if you're dealing with chronic illness, I would strongly recommend people research and find other people's testimonies and stories about how they dealt with their illness and what they did, what worked for them, what didn't. Because even though we're all individuals, a lot of these illnesses run the same way through, a lot of us.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And a lot of it, obviously, with GMOs in food, that's caused and sparked certain types of illness.
Oh yeah. Well, I think that's the kind of thing that actually factors into lupus, to autoimmune diseases in general, is a lot of the environmental stuff that we currently have and can't really get away from, because it's in our water and our air and what have you.
And that's why I'm saying, we could actually talk forever about these things, really, quite frankly, because there is so much in our world, really, that needs to be healed and changed, and, but really, it does start with, looking at yourself and going deep inside yourself and going, wait a minute, is this how I want to live? Or am I going to change the way I live and live the way that I want to? And that's what you're doing.
Well, and people just need to remember that, change is always an option. Always. Like, no matter what is happening, what's going on, how bad it gets, no matter what, you can always change something. And that change will then affect other things as well. And, you always have the option of changing things up.
See,
maybe not great choices to change, but change still is, can be a progression towards a better quality of life.
Right, exactly. So, really, it is your option. You can change things, and really can change things just by the way you think about things too.
Absolutely.
And just being open-minded to the fact that, okay, I want to live better. Then you live better. Basically, kind of boils down to that. Well,
I know that some people, and I've dealt with negative thoughts and, all those types of things in the past as well, and I still do, but you just have to be diligent and mindful about focusing on the positive things, focusing on the things that help inspire, help encourage, rather than the things that depress and degrade your will, and your hope.
Exactly. And in our society, unfortunately, people have kind of been trained to live the other way, where you're negative and to focus on the bad. And so that's why I wanted to be able to talk with you and share your story to our listeners, simply because, it's sort of like, preaching to the choir, or whatever that little adage is. But however, that helps pass, that on, the hope and the inspiration. And then, really, it's being an example for other people. And that really is what's going to help change our world. So like what you're saying, if people think about it, and decide that they want to be positive, it makes it be positive. So, yeah, really, really important. And really, really important stuff that you're doing on YouTube and sharing about your experiences. And, that's really, really awesome.
Well, thank you. I really enjoy YouTube. Like I said, I've been on there since 2005, and it's become such a huge part of my life that I even have a YouTube tattoo.
That's true. I actually saw that YouTube tattoo, and I was just like, I thought that was the funniest thing in the whole world. It's like,
I feel like if something has helped me save my life, it definitely deserves to be a tattoo.
Yeah, I think that's really awesome. And I think that you're really such an inspiration, and that's why I want people to, hear more about you too. And I'm going to let you go today, but I'm inviting you back next Wednesday, same time. And I'd like to continue kind of the conversation. We'll kind of go over little things again for anybody who might be tapping in again next Wednesday. But really, really, kudos to you, Angie, for making a difference in our world and sharing your story and being an inspiration.
Well, Well, thank you for having me on. I've enjoyed talking with you
I've
today.
enjoyed talking with you too, and you can find Angie on YouTube. All you got to do is put that on YouTube in the little search bar. You can even Google that, and it'll come up. So, yeah, so check it out. See what she's doing every single day. She posts something, and yeah. Well, you have an awesome day. We'll talk to you again next week, and I'll be in touch along the line too.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Angie. All right, well, that was awesome talk, and Angie on YouTube really is quite inspirational. Like I said, a lot of people, they just give up and lay down and say, "Oh, that's what the doctor told me to do." But here's an inspirational story of someone who said, "You know what? I don't want to live that way. I want to live, and I want to live life to its fullest." And so she started researching, figured out this is what I need to do for me, and basically, she's got her life under control, and also she's sharing her story to help others. So really, really quite a inspirational story, and I hope that you'll tune in next Wednesday too, because I'm going to talk a little more in depth about some things with her, because I really do believe it can be very helpful to others. I'm not necessarily advocating that you got to go get cannabis oil, but there are alternative things, and the whole message really is you decide and make your own life, and it really is about looking deep in your heart and making the decision about how you want to live. And kudos to Angie for not giving up, and also being an inspiration in our world. So I think that's really pretty amazing. And you're listening to Resource Network Radio. We are streaming live through Unity Networks, Wolf Paw Radio, and the Chat Room Network.